There it goes. All right, so can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. So here we've got just a regular schedule. I made a copy of it for y'all. And that copy that you have, go ahead and make a copy whenever you start editing it. But one of the things I wanted to show you by comparison is I added in some extra time blocks over here and also changed the start date. So to show you how to do that when you have this one pulled up is you're going to add rows. So you'll just go in however far ahead you want to go. I like to keep it in 30-minute increments. So it'd be 7:37, 6:36. If you need to go earlier than that, you absolutely can just keep adding rows. But so what I have is you'll highlight over. If you're familiar with Excel, it's very similar to if you're expanding like numbers or counts or whatever. So then you'll just get all 4 of them so that it doesn't do all of 8 a.m. It'll catch that it's doing the 30-minute increments. So now I have 6 a.m. It's starting on September 4th. Here's the fun part, 2000, which is not what we need. We need 2022. So in order to do that, you're going to go up here, change it to 22. Now we're at September 4th. And so instead, Monday is the 3rd. So we're going to do 1-3. And now we have that date changed. So when y'all make a copy, if you haven't already made yours, you can now make it and these changes are already saved for you. But I did want to go over that so that when you redo this, whether it's quarterly, monthly, however way you want to go about it, you have that option. Any questions on those parts real quick? All good?
Okay, sorry.
No, you're
For some
good.
reason, it kicked me off. How did you get the 6 a.m. to show up?
Yes, so highlight whatever number you want, add a couple rows, and then go over 7:37, get a couple of them in there so that it doesn't repeat 6 a.m. And then you'll just drag it up like you would a regular box for Excel, and it automatically adds the 30-minute increments.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. For myself, realistically, my day probably doesn't start until closer to 8 or 9 a.m. But I am trying to do better, especially after reading Atomic Habits. Andrew, I think you read it, but it was a real eye-opener for me. It was one of those things that you know, but then hearing it from somebody else kind of reiterates it. And so one of the things was starting small with micro habits, and it leads to big changes. So I started working out this week, and my legs hate me for it, but it was needed. So my day is going to start closer to 6. So what I'm going to do is, this is super simple, is we'll just go in and we'll write in whatever it is that you need to do. So whatever time you wake up, and for me, it's getting ready. So I realistically am hoping to work out 5 days a week. That's what I want a time block for. So I put that in the box and then I pull it all the way across. So it's all 5 days. And then realistically, my workout's probably an hour. So one of the things that I like to do here is I like to highlight the box under it. So I just hit shift and clicked on that box. And then if you go over to merge cells, it's this weird box looking thing. When you click on it, it creates one block for it. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to add borders. Just because when I'm done, I like them to have borders. It becomes more visually appealing for me, just a personal preference. You don't have to, but that's what this box here is, the one that looks like a window. And you just click on whatever version of the box you want, because I want it to be the outline of this basic slot. Now I've created that box. So now I can take this and pull it all the way to Friday. And now I have that all the way through those days. This is what I call my cup time, or fill my cup time, something like that. I know some people in the past that I've talked to, they like to spend their mornings instead of working out. Maybe they're an afternoon or an evening workout person. Instead, maybe they're getting up early and they're spending time in their Bible or spending 30 minutes reading. I know there's a lot of coaches that talk about those types of things. And basically what you're doing with this hour and a half process is you're getting your mind right to conquer the day. Whatever that comes out to be and whatever version of that is your way of doing that. For me, what I've learned is if I don't work out in the morning, it's not going to get done. I'm going to find other things to do. I'm not going to prioritize it. So for me, starting the new year, it has to be done in the morning. And then realistically, 7 to 8 a.m. is going to be getting Braden ready for school, getting him ready and dropping him off. So again, I'm just going to highlight the 2 boxes because legit, that's a full hour of my life. So I'm going to merge the cells, and then again, I'm going to create a border, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag it all the way across. If I wanted to alternate this from different colors, like the gray and the white, then I would just highlight these and then change the color. Like if I do a reset, oh, that one's not going to do. I think I have to do actual white there. So now it's a little bit different. So again, visually appealing a little bit more to see quickly what that looks like. And then I look at what my day actually starts with. So I, at least a couple times a week, am getting on Clubhouse in the morning. If y'all aren't familiar with Clubhouse, it's a really cool app that has been instrumental in being able to network with people outside of EXP, outside of my normal organization. It's agents from all over the country. Sometimes they're coming in like when they're out of the country even. But basically it's a 30-minute power up, and we just get together, and each day is a different theme. We'll either be reviewing the 52 book challenge that we're working on, or Wednesdays is if someone has an investment that they want to present to the group, then we'll go in and talk about that investment project and ask questions. And then other days are just literally a Q&A. Whoever wants the floor to ask a question has it, and whoever has a solid answer provides it. It's been really cool. So that's going to go in my 8 a.m. slot. It's a 30-minute thing, Monday through Friday. So again, I'm just going to create, I can't merge sales since it's just the one. So then I'm going to create my border, and then I'm going to slide it all the way across, and that's my Monday.
Hey, Katie, I was trying to, I'm sorry to interrupt
You're
you.
good. What you got?
You want to wait to do questions to the end?
No, let's have them.
Okay. I was trying to start my day at 5:30, and I started like at 8 a.m. and I grabbed it and moved to that slot because I did an insert row, but it's not, I thought it would come at 5:30.
Okay.
Do I?
So let me do this one real quick. Let me go back and I'll show you how to do it again. So we need to go all the way back to adding the rows. Is that what you're saying?
I did that. I added the rows.
So how many above 8 o'clock do you have?
Well, I have the copy that you sent, which is to 6:30.
Okay.
Or to 6. So I added one more. So I wanted it to be at 5:30.
Okay. And it's not showing up as 5:30?
No, when I grabbed the 8 o'clock and I just moved up to that open slot. It doesn't do anything.
Okay. Hold on.
And this is on the copy one too that I made.
Okay. So
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. So highlight more than just 8 a.m. So I would highlight like 9:30 to 8 a.m.
Okay.
And then you're going to drag so you have a plus over this blue box. And then you're going to bring it all the way up. So now I'm at 5 a.m.
Yeah, it's not doing it for me.
It's not. If you want to make a copy of this one, it's at 5 now, so you can make a copy of it.
Okay. Sorry, y'all.
You're good. Let
Okay.
me change this date for you too, so that that's done.
Yeah, let me just stop the whole
There you go.
class.
It's ready for you.
Thank you. I'll make it right
You're welcome.
now. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So some things to put in your time block. If these don't apply to you, or really just trying to fulfill your day. So we need to discuss what are income producing activities versus what is busy work. So off the top of y'all's head, what do you think the difference between the two is? What would you think those categories would be or would be under them?
I would say as for income producing, is that what you said?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I would do like cold calling your circle.
Yeah. So prospecting of some kind?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
And would posting on social media, would that be income producing or would that be busy work?
That absolutely would.
Okay.
You said cold calling. I know Angie and I have talked about expireds, reaching out to your sphere, past clients, so on and so forth. Social media posting, that can be prospecting in itself, depending on how you go about it. But that absolutely can be another thing. What else do you think would be the difference between the two?
Going to an event,
Okay,
like a networking event.
so
you know,
do you think that would be income producing or do you think that would be busy work?
income producing.
So it's a gray area with that one. I'm glad you brought it up. So the
This would be
reason,
open attraction.
yeah, and if you use the time wisely, it 100% can be under prospecting and income producing. But if you're going to the happy hours or whatever, and you're just shooting the gab and drinking, and you literally make no contacts, no intention of follow up, you're not scheduling any appointments with it, then you're really just doing busy work. You're getting your name out there, but are you really producing anything that's going to lead to a deal of some kind, whether that's an agent or an actual transaction? Does that make sense?
Totally.
Okay. So we'll add that in there because I do think that's good. There's a lot of social networks like BNI groups and stuff like that, that they can be really fruitful for business. For example, I typically would not put, I have a, it's called MOPS. It's a mom's group at church. It's every other Monday, basically during the school semesters. And I typically would not consider that on a, Skyview basis. I would not consider that to be income producing, right? Because I'm going to church and to fellowship and to hang out with other moms and to kind of get a load off mentally. But I've pulled 2 deals from being in that circle, just by showing up. Like, I don't shoot my business. I don't promote myself. I may have conversations about like how work is going, but by no means am I trying to convert any of my friends to buy or sell with me. But it has led to a couple deals over the last couple years. So it's really how you spend your time. So what kind of things do y'all think would go under busy work?
Adding to your database.
Good. What do you mean by adding to your database?
Well, I guess being new, I'm going through any type of connection. Like, I'm going through my Facebook friends, my Instagram friends, my phone contacts, and adding them to my CRM.
Yep. That would be for sure. So I would say that kind of falls in the realm of like CRM management. Would you agree with that?
That's a different category.
I would say they kind of fall in the same realm,
Okay.
right? Like CRM as a global aspect of it would be like if you needed to set up safe searches for people, if you needed to set calendar reminders or update notes on contacts that you made with people, those types of things would be busy work because you're not directly writing a deal because of those things, right? Like no business directly comes from that.
Yes.
Okay. What about any other options? What do y'all think would be in there?
Check an email.
Yep, definitely. What else?
Any kind of work towards transaction.
Yep. So servicing the deals that you have, right? So maybe following up with a lender, maybe checking on, like for right now, I'm waiting on a freaking survey to come in. Those types of things, right? Like that's not bringing you a deal. Is it helpful? Yes. Is it necessary? Absolutely. But is it actually producing a deal for you? Well, if you're servicing a deal, you already have it under contract, right? So we're looking for the difference between the two. Hey, ma'am, is really what is the difference between writing a new deal versus where you're already at? Hey, ma'am. So then some other things that you can add in here that aren't necessarily in these two things, but things that you need to have in your time block would be making a plan to call or visit 10 plus people a day. And this isn't quite where we're going to focus today, but I am going to send y'all. I have another, let me find. I think I had posted it in our workplace group, but it was your pipeline tracker. Here we go. Do y'all remember seeing this in
No.
workplace? Okay. I'll repost it so that it's at the top or on that thread of resources. But basically, this is for if you're trying to track how many transactions and how much commission or whatever way that you want to determine how productive you're going to be in the year. That's what this is for. Okay, so real quickly, I'm going to go over how to use it. We can do other questions on it later, but I just want to reference this really fast because of how it plays into your time block. So let's say, for example, this next year, let's say I wanted to do 150K. It's already a calculator. So average gross commission, I've actually been working on my average sale price. So I haven't added 2021 yet, but if I go to my deals in the past, these are all of my deals. I can share this spreadsheet if y'all want it, but my average sale price, if I've got a buyer, is 288, almost 289. If I've got a seller, it's closer to 255. So let's say just roughly between the two, 265, we'll call it a wash. So if that's my average sale price, then if I'm on average, I don't think this one calculates percentage. Yeah, I have another one that you can calculate what your percent commission is. Most people like to put in 3% because ideally that's what we want for a deal. But I think NAR statistic was actually the average commission percentage comes out to be like 2.8. And if you think about it, that makes sense because, for example, if I have a client that's buying and selling with me, if they ask for it or they're repeat clients, which at this point in the business, I have quite a few of those, then I'm not going to charge them 3% on the list of their house. I'll probably charge them 2.5 on my side. So it'll be 5.5 total. And so that 2.5 to 3%, once you average them all out, this year I represented a builder. So that was 1%. So not every deal is 3%. So if we use 2.8%, right? So let's just say 265 times 0.025. Helps if I put the formula thing in there. Then we're looking at 66.25 for a deal. So that means that next year I have to close 23 deals if I want to gross 150K. You with me? The other thing that I like about this spreadsheet is it automatically calculates how many leads that means that I need for the year. So I have to generate 2,300 leads if I want to hit that goal. If I want to break that down to, it did it based on 261 working days, which basically means 100 days off, right? So you count weekends, that's pretty much taking 2 days a weekend off. That comes down to I need to create 9 new leads a day. So the reason I wanted to touch on this really fast is because looking at this, when I go to my schedule, to my time block, this says caller visit 10 plus people a day. Well, that's if I've got 100% conversion rate. Realistically, I think the NAR statistic, it hasn't changed much, but for every 10 leads you get, you're likely to convert one of them. So if you have income goals similar to what I have on this tracker, you actually need to be talking to 90 plus people a day. You need to be making 90 calls, 90 touches. So let's just say 100 people a day, okay? And that's different prospecting ways that you're reaching out, following up on leads that you already have that you haven't talked to yet. These are people that haven't said yes, but haven't also said outright no. Maybe they said 3-4 months, maybe they said a year. Those are all going to be different drip campaigns that you'll set up so that you're touching on these people throughout time, essentially. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, I'm getting head nods, so I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing that you need to be doing is sending 3 to 5 personal notes a day. So these will be things that we will schedule into our time block. So for example, if we've got 100 plus people a day and let's say half of them don't answer the phone, a third of them hang up on you, right? Realistically, if you have, oh, they've let us stay longer than 40 minutes. If you have 100 people that you need to touch on, realistically, when you're first starting out and you don't have like a robo dialer of some kind set up, then it's probably going to take you a good 2 to 3 hours a day to reach out to 100 people. So then what that looks like is I'm going to go in here to my schedule and I'm going to leave this tab up. This is the one that y'all have a copy of. So if you've already made a copy, that's fine. You can go back and just copy this page into yours, or you can be editing it as we talk about it. It's totally up to you. But I'm going to edit my actual one so that I'm kind of working alongside y'all. So for 3 hours a day is what we're projecting we need to be prospecting. So for me personally, I am most productive in the morning. By the time the afternoon comes around, my anxiety sits in, I'm starting to second guess things, or deals feel like they're going to fall apart and I feel like the house is burning down and I've got to focus on other things besides what needs to get done. So I put in an hour 3 times a day that I'm going to be prospecting. As you go through and figure out what you want these income producing activities to be under prospecting, whether that's expireds, your sphere, the other ones that we noted, then you can specifically go in and write that in. One thing I want to point out as well is this does not include open houses. So if you're planning to do an open house every Sunday, every other Sunday, that's one very low cost way for you to get your name out and get clients for a very low amount of money per open house. I mean, if you run a Facebook ad, you're probably looking at, let's say 15, 20 bucks for the week. You'll maybe spend 10 bucks on water and maybe 5, 10 bucks on cookies. So 50 bucks in, you can get X number of leads, however well you do posting about it during the week. And so if that's my lead gen for the day, for a day, I'm a big fan of Sunday open houses personally. I see them working the best over time between 1 to 4. So let's say I do an open house and it's going to be for 4 hours or 3 hours, sorry. Then I'm going to put that in here, right? So now I've got that on my Sunday. So if I've got it on my Sunday, I can take 1 day off of prospecting because I've got that 5th day on my Sunday. Does that make sense? Y'all with me there? Okay. So there's 1 hour of prospecting. I would say you'll need to be doing 2 to 3 hours a day of some kind of lead generating. Prospecting, lead generating, it's the same thing. Sometimes I use each version of the word. But let's just say I do it at 9, I get a couple tasks done. Maybe I'll try them during their lunch break. Because that's some people's excuse that they're busy. So I'll try them at lunch, and then I'll go ahead and try them again at 4, see if I can catch them as they're leaving work or out the door. So you can go in and just all the way across have that be your schedule Monday through Friday. Or another way that I've seen it done, and this is based on another NAR statistic, is Wednesday and Thursday from 4 to 6 is, according to NAR, when people are most likely to answer their phone. So what I would counsel y'all to do is to put from 4 to 6, that be 2 hours of your prospecting, right? So that's 2 of your 3 hours for Wednesday and Thursday. And then that way, why are you not giving me, there we go. There we go. So now you have 2 of those 3 hours. So now you just need to add another hour somewhere in here on Wednesday and Thursday. And that could be based on whatever you've got going on. For example, I mentioned MOPS. If y'all have a BNI group or some kind of networking that you do, that needs to go in here as well. So any type of networking or consistent event, go ahead and put that in here. Open houses is another option. Let's add that to prospecting. If you go to church, put that in your schedule. I've learned very quickly over the years that if it's not in my schedule, it doesn't get done. So one of the things that I'm really going to do with y'all this year is I've got my schedule here, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to put my actual time block in my schedule. So I'm doing it with y'all. Someone mentioned calendars. So I've got a paper planner. I'm a big paper person. This is a weekly version, which means that like my whole week goes on the 2 pages. I like this one because I can put actual like time things going on, like dates and stuff, so I can quick glance, see what's going on. But then it's also got a spot for my to-do list, which I really like. I personally have found that if my to-do list is digital, I don't get it done. I don't know why, but I just cannot mentally remind myself enough that it's online and that's where I need to go. So I recommend having a digital version of your calendar, and then if you're a paper person, do both. And the reason being that I found this time block is helpful is, one, this sends me reminders. I have all of these events set where I get a reminder 10 minutes prior. And so that way I know, oh yeah, I have 10 minutes to finish this. If there's something that comes up that's an immediate need, like let's say, for example, I needed to follow up the other day because again, we were waiting on this stupid survey, then I would put in just a quick follow up survey, and then I'd set a time for it. I don't need a location or anything, but I would put it in whatever color that you color code things as being pertinent, right? So for me, red is personal. If I know it's something that has to get done, and this is something going back to being a nerd in high school and college, is I make it yellow. Everything that was yellow in my planner those days meant it was homework or had an immediate need. So I would color code it, and then now I have that and I can see immediately on my calendar, this has to get done. I would follow that same idea for transactions. If you know that you have, let's say option period is ending a specific day, make sure to put that in the morning so that you remember we have an amendment that we have to get done. If there's a timeline for, let's say they're lending and their pre-approval is due by a certain day, or their loan underwriting, the first batch of underwriting is due by a certain day, put that on there as well. And this way you can keep up your digital calendar, but you're also not sacrificing your time block that you create. So going back to this, any questions about the prospecting?
So whatever you put on your time block, you put that on your Google Calendar and set reminders.
Yep.
Okay.
I used to have it on there a long ass time ago, and the problem with it that I didn't do well, that I'm really hoping to do better, and y'all are welcome to keep me accountable to it, because I'll do it for you as well, is this is as we were talking about the income producing versus the busy work. You can make this visually the same by highlighting the things that are busy work as whatever color to you denotes calm, or not necessarily unnecessary, but not a priority. So let's say like we want that to be blue. If this wasn't busy work, or if this wasn't lead generating, but since it is lead generating, we're going to call this green time, right? Because green money, like that's just an easy way to visually see it. So anything that's green, the thing that really got me in a bind when I was putting it in my Google Calendar is, let's say I had a client like this morning, I did listing photos. They were only available at 9:30. Well, if I had brought this all the way across for the week, I'm now missing a half hour, and realistically it was in Humble, so it was an hour drive. So I missed out on this prospecting. Well, what I didn't do well when I would put it in my calendar before is I wouldn't move this prospecting to another time during the day to still get it done. That's the part that this time block is great, but clients don't care. They don't care that we're supposed to be prospecting at 9, or that we're holding ourselves accountable to prospect at 4. I guarantee on a Wednesday and Thursday, you're going to have a client that wants to see a house at 5 p.m. That's absolutely fine. That is still what I would consider green time, right? Like you have to show houses to get a contract. So that's fine, but make sure you move this to a different time slot on your Google Calendar so that you're still getting it done. Does that make sense? And I think we've talked about, a couple of y'all have expressed over time questions about like how to keep your pipeline full, how to get it going. This is how you do that. On days that you don't have things going on, you already have a set schedule of what you need to do. But then when you have clients, in order to keep your pipeline full, you're moving this to a time in your actual calendar where you have availability to work on it and still complete those tasks, so that by the time that you finish with that client, they close, you've now fired yourself. They're no longer a client. You've got to find somebody else to fill that spot. Well, if you're not prospecting while you're working clients, then you're going to run out of those spaces and you're going to be stuck back at square one at the beginning. Does that make sense? Okay. So you've got to put in your prospecting time. Again, I say 3 hours a day as y'all are starting out. If you get to a point where, let's say, I know, for example, my personal self, I am good 5+ listings, I'm fine, right? That's not a whole lot of time commitment up front. In the middle of it, it is up front, but once they're under contract, I can pretty much do that from anywhere. But buyers, I'm really only able to balance them at about 3 buyers at a time, 3 active looking buyers at a time. And the reason being is Houston is not small. I'm driving all over Timbuktu trying to get deals done. That's a lot of drive time. That's a lot of commitment. But also, we're normally seeing houses several times a week. And so if I'm committing 2-3 hours per client, that's a quarter of my work week that's gone just with one client if we see houses more than once. Do you see how that plays out? Yeah, okay. So some other things that you can add in here is, we talked about open houses. I added that in here. Obviously, if you want to do weekly open houses, you absolutely can. I've only tried it a couple times and it wasn't ever when the market was crazy. So I'm not sure that it was the best time. And honestly, open houses are not my forte. Kristen, I think her last name is Edwards. She's in my organization. If you have a true interest in open houses and you want to see how she does it, she generated, I think it was like 15 deals from open houses this year. In my entire career, I've generated 3. Like, they are just not my forte, if I'm being honest. But if you want to go after open houses, I will be more than happy to connect you with Kristen to talk about what she does. because I think it definitely is a good strategy. We talked about checking in on past clients. At the beginning for y'all, this is really going to be more sphere heavy. And that's going to be social media posting. That's going to be calling them directly. And it's a super easy, hey, I know it's been a little while, but I just wanted to call and see how you're doing. The holidays is a great time to have this conversation. Just letting them know. And you don't have to be spammy about it. I'm a big fan of being completely genuine and just telling them, hey, I know you have a lot of options on who to hire. And even if you're not in the market to buy or sell right now, it would mean a lot to me if you would just go share one of my social media posts where I announce my new business. I'm really excited about, starting this venture, and I would love your support. That's it. If you have a little bit heavier connection with them, a relationship, then definitely spend time talking to them about what's going on in their lives. But I literally am only calling them personally to touch base with them, to let them know what's going on, and to ask for their support in my business. That's it. It has fostered genuine conversations after that, but it's because I didn't come at them hardcore. Hey, are you ready to list your house? Let me send you a market report, blah, 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 blah. Not that those aren't good things to talk about, but if I haven't called this person in 6 months, that's really not the best time to have that conversation. But that's something we can totally get into later for scripts, which leads me to my next thing. As y'all are in the beginning, y'all need to be practicing scripts and role playing with people. I would definitely recommend getting a buddy with somebody that's on here with us right now, and practicing 30 minutes to an hour a week, maybe a little bit more than that at the beginning, and just really going into being a buyer, being a seller, taking turns being the agent, whatever version of prospecting that you're doing, focus on that. And what I do at the very beginning before I even start role playing with somebody is I find a script that I want to use. So for example, you can do Tom Ferry, let's say new agent intro. There's 12 million. So here's all of the things that he has, just quick ones that you can get into. And I take whatever that script is. So let's say this one's here. Here's one right here. I copy it. Let's say this is the actual script. I go to my notes, I create a note, I write it out, and then I sit here and I say it out loud. This is not part of your time block script. This is what you're doing on your own time. But I go through and I write it out and I say it out loud so that I can hear what I'm saying. Does that make sense? Because then I can tell, is this something that I would actually say? Is this the verbiage that I would use? Is this the typical notation or cadence of my voice that I would use? Is this where I'm supposed to be really peppy and excited? Or is this where I'm supposed to be a little more mellow? What does that look like? And then once I've perfected what the words look like, then I bring somebody into the conversation to practice with. At the very beginning, I didn't trust a lot of agents at my office. I'm a control freak and I wasn't ready to not be perfect. And so I practiced on my husband. I love my husband, but he can be a real a-hole when he's trying to be critical of me, especially when it's intentional about my business. And so that was super fun because, and I mean that incredibly sarcastic if you can't tell, because he would come in and tell me, like, you wouldn't say something like that. Like, he knew me well enough to say that sounds spammy or that doesn't sound like you or whatever. And then I'd go back to the drawing board of my script, and I literally, y'all, I had it written down at the time. I didn't use notes. I don't even think I had a Mac back then. And so I was physically crossing them out and then rewriting it and then going in and typing it up, trying to really have it in front of me in some organized fashion. But I would definitely do that. So make sure you have scripts and role playing. I'd say at a minimum, you need to be doing 30 minutes to an hour a week. I would really push for closer to maybe 2 hours, like 30 minutes a day, I think is reasonable. but that's a good way for you to start practicing, especially open houses. Those sometimes can be really tricky. There's a lot of different variations of how that conversation can go, depending on the buyer that comes in. And so there's a lot of iterations that you can do with that. Same with expireds. When you get to the point when you're calling past clients, for example, one of the ones that I used for them lately is the home warranty company. Typically will send you an email when they file a claim. That's a really good way to call them and just see how it went. I literally just call them and I say, hey, I saw that you had to put in a bid really quick for this one was a hot water heater that busted. What did you think of that vendor? How did their service do? Should I keep them on my list or do you think I need to take them off? Because majority of the time, the home warranty company that they picked is somebody I recommended. So I need to know if they're holding up to par, because if not, I don't want to share them with somebody else. But that's an easy way for me to touch on my client. It's an easy way for me to say hi. It's an easy way for them to know that I didn't forget about them after the deal was over. And then you can also, this can also be snail mail campaigns or MailChimp campaigns. I think MailChimp or email campaigns falls a little bit more into the busy work category. Just because, again, it's not going to directly service you a deal, but it is, you know, a beast that you have to tackle at some point. We talked about role play. Another option that I would say, as if things open up again soon, is look in your area to see if agents are doing realtor tours. That was something that at the very beginning I found really helpful. And really I just did probably 2 to 3 hours a week, and it was typically one day. So for example, back in the day I was in BCS and it was every Tuesday. And so I would just time block basically 12 to, depending on what I had going on for the week, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock. I really didn't push past that. That they were already organized. I would pick out which houses I wanted to go see. If I had a potential buyer that maybe fit that, it's basically, if y'all aren't familiar with them, it's basically open houses for real estate agents. And so I would go and preview the house for my client or potential client. Let's say I had a lead I've been trying to get a hold of and I couldn't get them on the phone. Well, if I thought this house was a good fit, I'd go take a look at it and then I'd call them later in the afternoon and say, hey, I just toured such and such today. It really reminded me of what you were looking for. I'm going to send you a link for it. Let me know if you want to see it in person. And that showed them that, again, I'm not trying to be spammy. I genuinely am trying to provide something of value, but it also showed them that they were a priority. And that kind of separated me from other agents because I wasn't just sending them everything that was on the MLS. I was actually fine tuning and kind of criticizing properties that I felt like would or would not be a good fit for them. I just realized I spelled realtor absolutely awful. Let's see. I would say a goal that you need to set in here is to be on 1 new client appointment a week. So that could be a listing appointment, that could be a buyer appointment, like a buyer consult. I call mine home buyer boot camp. Doing some kind of walkthrough for a listing. Depending on how y'all want your buyer process to go, it could be something along the lines of meeting them for coffee to talk to them about the process and see what their timeline and stuff is. But those are all some really good options of what should go in your time block. So any questions about these things? Good. Okay. I wanted to show you an example of what I use for my personal notes. So I bought this giant box from Target. If y'all can see it, it was maybe $10, $15. And they're little note cards. And it comes with envelopes. Lord mercy, I'm struggling. Right, so it's just like a little it's a little bit bigger than a 3x5, a little bit smaller than a 4x6, it's somewhere in between the two. And I just think of 3 to 5 people that I need to send a note to. And so again, talking about social media, if I saw they recently got married, or if I saw they got engaged, or they had a baby, or they announced a pregnancy, or they got a new job, I'm just sending a note saying congratulations. I'm not being spammy. I personally, that's not my jam. I don't like it. I don't like when people do it to me. I don't want to do it to somebody else. So I just let them know, hey, congratulations. I saw that you X, Y, and Z. I just wanted you to know I'm super excited for you. Wish you the best of luck. That's it. Some people put a business card in it. I think if you're following up with people that you networked, right? The people that you met that you got their business cards, I think that's okay to put your business card in when you send the note. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me the other day. I had a great time meeting you over drinks. I'm really excited to try out whatever thing they recommended. Like, tie it back to that conversation. And I would spend writing these notes probably 30 minutes a day. That's all it really needs to take. Let's see. Did you have your hand up? I feel like you had your hand up. No, nobody's hands? Okay, I thought I saw hands. Let's see, what else? We talked about role play. Oh, education. That's something that definitely needs to go in there. So you need to be on some kind of education and training as well. I would say an hour a day is probably good to start out. Of course, if you've got clients that you're working with, you're doing a lot of showings, whatever, I would say at a minimum, you need to be doing 3 hours a week. And the reason being is we always need to be staying top of mind. I mean, even nowadays, I'm still doing at least 2 to 3 hours a week of some kind of education, whether that's jumping in world on something, whether that's, I count 30 minutes of Clubhouse every day as education, because I always end up pulling something helpful from it every single time I'm in there. I also think just following along in workplace, depending on your upline, your organization should have a bunch of different trainings going on. For example, with being in the TM5 organization, Terrence has a huddle once a week, and so does Elizabeth. And there's someone else, I think 2 other people that have huddles that I don't jump into because I don't know them personally, but I jump into Terrence and Elizabeth's, and that's 2 hours a week right there. And so I think that's a really good way to just kind of stay top of mind. It gives extra perspective from how other people handle things. It may not be the way you would do it, but at least you get to get a different example of how someone handles a situation. And sometimes you may learn what not to do. It really just depends on, what you put into it. But those are the big ones. So once you know these types of things that you want to add to your calendar, to your time block, we just go in and we add them, right? So if I need to, this is my prospecting, the 100 people a day. So I'm just going to go in and make sure that I have 3 hours. And I think I actually put 5 or 2.5 hours on this. Oh. There. Oops. Let's see, I've got my 2 hours there. I've got an hour and a half for both of those. So then I'll just go in and add them wherever. Got an hour there. So we'll just do 2 hours. So there's my 3, 2, 3, 3. So if I want to copy this, let's just throw it in here, kind of mix it up a little bit. 2. Let's do another 4. So if I've got open houses here, I could get rid of a couple hours if I wanted to. I'm not a fan of open houses anymore. I like to spend time with my son and my husband. So I'm not a huge fan of them. But I highly recommend them for y'all starting out. They really are a low cost of entry. And I genuinely feel like when done correctly, they are super beneficial. So that's my 3 hours of prospecting a week or a day. 3 to 5 personal notes, like I said, that's about 30 minutes. I like to do that when I need a little bit of a mental break, which typically is after I do prospecting calls. So I'm going to put that in here, personal notes. Boom. I'm not networking at the moment, but that could be one of the ones that you put in. Church for us. We have life group. Is that mine? It actually starts at 9:45, but I am getting ready. Put life group here. And then I've got church here. That's about an hour. Role playing, I definitely recommend, like I said, at least a couple times a week for y'all. I'm not going to put it in there personally, but and for my prospecting, I'm going to change a third of these to be recruiting stuff. So I'm going to do recruiting. Realtor tours, I'm not going to do. New client appointments, you can put them in here. Like, let's say there's a time that you specifically know that you want to work with clients, then you can put that in here. Realistically, majority of buyers are going to be after 5 o'clock because majority of the world works 9 to 5. So if you want to put that in here, the other thing that I would say that needs to go in here, if you have kids that are school age, is making sure that you put carpool line in here. That's huge. Same with drop off. If they don't ride the bus, put that in here. What else are some other things? We talked about reading per day. I do that in the evening before I go to bed, so I'm not going to put that on my time block. And then education / training. So for me, let me see. Terrence's is on Mondays. Oh, he canceled this week. That's right. Let me see. 9. So I'm going to put Terrence's at 9. See, and now I've got to move this. So move that. We'll go. And I'm going to pick personally for myself, busy work. I'm going to make it blue. Oh, that's a weird color. I don't know that I like that color, but I'll figure it out later. Oh, no. And then Elizabeth's, I want to say is Thursdays. Yep, at 11. And then obviously I'm going to go in and add to and move things around based on when I time block meeting with y'all on a weekly basis, right? Because that needs to be in here. So I'll go in and add all of y'all's mentee blocks in here too. But that's it. So then once you have this done, you can leave it as is, or you can save it as a PDF. So to do that, you can export, where is it? I think it's here. Download, there we go. So you can download it as a PDF, and that'll give you a regular page version. You can print it out. I recommend posting it somewhere that you'll see it regularly, especially if you're not going to put it in a digital calendar. If you are, I would go ahead and put it into your Google Cal or whatever that you use, so that you have that. And then, like I said, as you add appointments with clients, basically, like, let's say, for example, let me find, I have listing photos today. So let's say this was a, some kind of time block thing, then I would just move this to, let's do the survey. Let's pretend this was one. So I'll just move it to, let's say 6 o'clock. I know that needs to be done. I'm going to move it to that time. And then it's done. It's still in my calendar. I can still get it done. Are y'all familiar? I don't know what made me think of this, but are y'all familiar with scheduling emails as well? Have y'all heard of that? I'm not seeing any yeses. So let's say I had some tasks that I needed to get done, which is very often that I need to do after Braden goes to bed, right? So what I do is I'll write up the email. So let's say I'm going to use my husband, but type in their name, type in whatever your subject is. So, hey, I'm going to send my message. And then typically I'm sending these emails after 8 o'clock, which I don't recommend talking to clients unless it's absolutely necessary. And so what I do is click this arrow. If you're using Gmail, you can click schedule send, and I can schedule it for tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And now he's going to get that email tomorrow. Same with if there's, like, you need to follow up with a lender, a title company, you can obviously send those emails at night. But let's say, for example, you have a packed day tomorrow, and you told prospective clients or actual clients that you were going to send them XYZ info. Well, go ahead and schedule that email for tomorrow, and then that'll work for you while you're not at your desk. And it's just a good way to follow up and do the things that you say you're going to do. That, you know, it keeps you honest, it keeps your word. And prospective clients and actual clients and other vendors and everybody else love that. So, any questions about all of that? No, everybody's good? Cool. Well, if we don't have any questions, that's everything I wanted to go over.
Yeah, one thing I would ask about the calling. Do you recommend one of those robocaller, the dialers, for when you're making your prospecting calls?
Yes. So
Okay.
I like, it's called Slide Dial. It's ringless voicemail. The reason I like it is because, one, it's ringless, but two, you go in and you can pay per phone number, if that makes sense, if you don't do like the full subscription. I want to say it's like 10 or 15 cents per dial. But the reason I like them is if I was doing circle prospecting, so for example, we closed on our house and I wanted to send a voicemail to everybody in the neighborhood to let them know, hey, your favorite realtor's here. Basically, I'm just saying, hey, I wanted to let you know that the house near you on 7573 Tyler Run recently closed, and it likely updated the equity that you have in your house. If you're interested in knowing what that info looks like, give me a call. My cell phone number is blah, 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 blah. And then I just send that voicemail to everybody that I pulled that list from. And now I've prospected to, there's easily 100 homes in this community. And all I did was record a 10-second voicemail, downloaded their phone numbers, uploaded them into this, and in 15 minutes, I made 100 touches.
It's awesome. And you can
It's-
dial and call someone on that too, right?
You can. I haven't used it for that purpose. I've only ever used it for the ringless voicemail.
Mhm.
But you can also use, let me think of what it's called. It used to be connected, I think it's called Mojo. Yeah. It used to be connected to KB Core. I don't know if it still is. But Mojo and Ring Central are another option. Basically what they do is you have your list of phone numbers already synced on there, and it has it kind of on pause. So as soon as you hang up with one, it calls the next one. And so you're not spending time dialing every 2 seconds or, however long it takes. It just basically drops it and lets it go. The other reason I like these, I think both of them do it if I remember correctly. You can pre-record a voicemail so that when you hit next call, it drops the voicemail for you. You don't have to spend the 10-15 seconds leaving that voicemail again. It's already saved, it drops it, and it's already dialing the next number for you.
It's just not a personalized, it's just like a generic.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I have Ring Central, so I just need to take a class on it, I think, because I didn't know they had that option.
They used to. I'm assuming they still do, because that was definitely one of the reasons that it was super helpful. So I would think that they still have it. I think Ring Central also has options for like pulling expired lists, if I remember correctly, or they sync to one. I can't remember. Let me see.
And these are things that you and I can talk about
For sure.
Thursday, but I'm sure it might be helpful for other people too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, here you can get different licenses, specific phone numbers. You can get a vanity number. And then these are all the different ways that you can use it. Here's call recording. So that's really cool if down the road you wanted to know like what part of your scripts isn't going well. Then when you call people, it'll record it, and then we can listen to the recording and kind of nitpick together what part of your script we need to work on, or how could you have better said XYZ in talking to a prospective client. Here's the reports. Voicemail to text. I thought it had, it may be just a different version. Another one that you can use is Redx. They're really good for circle prospecting. If you want to do expireds and FSBOs, you can connect it to HAR directly, and it'll help you, it'll pull the expireds for you. So all you have to do is use their dialer and call those expireds, and you're good to go.
Oh, that'd be great.
It's got a dialer built in. The other reason that I really like this one is because, and I think Ring Central does it too, but it checks against the DNC list, which is important because if you call somebody on the DNC list and they report you, even if it's the first time, the fine can be up to $15,000. So when you're circle prospecting and just randomly calling numbers that you got off of the white pages, it's a really big risk. So using these third party, even though it's not fun to pay for it, having that kind of extra layer of accountability and safety is super helpful to basically protect your bank account. Another one that's a competitor of Redx started, oh, what was the name of it? I want to say it's Vulcan is Redx's dialer. It was called something else. Land Voice, that's what it was. That's another one. When I used Land Voice, they may have gotten better. It's been a couple years, but when I used Land Voice, I felt like I got a lot of shit numbers, to be honest. Like it wasn't pulling accurate info. So I switched over to Redx, and I was really happy with Redx. I just haven't prospected expireds in a while, but it is one of my goals for next year. But those are the big ones that I would recommend for a dialer. Cool. Any other questions? That was a good one. Okay. Well, if y'all are good, then we'll call it a day and we'll start up as per regular next week.
Thanks, Katie, for your time.
You're welcome, y'all. I really hope this helped.
Yeah,
For sure.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you.
y'all.
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Have a happy New Year's, y'all.
Y'all
You too.
too.
Happy New Year.
Bye.